What's up, y'all? So I'm not sure what's going on in Michigan, Metro Detroit, but so you all, I'm pretty sure you all have heard about the lady with the two kids dying in the van from like hypothermia. But like in less than a week, this lady in Pontiac, which is like I think 45 minutes to an hour from Detroit. I don't drive there ever, so I don't know. I know it's not light years away. It's like right up. I believe 75, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but she left her kids. And the reason I'm explaining it before I play it because I don't want to play it all the way through because I'm not sure how that works with the news channels, if they'll strike me down or whatever if I play it all the way through, even though it is only 3 minutes. So you're just gonna have to suffer through hearing me explain it myself. So when she has three kids, when they found the kids, it was obvious case of abandonment, right? And the story just it doesn't make any sense, and we'll get through it. But it's just like I'm still trying to wrap my mind around how the mother did it, and also how the fuck did the kids just like it, let's give it a shot.
Tonight, we are continuing to cover a case that is stunning Metro Detroit. Three children rescued from squalid conditions. Their mother now under arrest. Thank you so much for joining us for 7 News Detroit at 11. I'm Whitney Burney. Their mother allegedly abandoning the children in 2020 or 2021, leaving a 15-year-old boy, 13-year-old girl, and a 12-year-old girl, only leaving food once a week.
Now, here's my thing. I don't believe that. Because they say several times in this video, like 3 or 4, weekly food drop-offs. I don't believe that, and I'll explain it when they bring it up a second time. I'll just let it play.
Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard saying, quote, "This situation would be deemed deplorable and intolerable for an animal, and it is utterly unacceptable for 3 children." 7 News Detroit reporter Tierra Braddock spoke to Sheriff Bouchard today, as well as a neighbor reacting to the chilling revelations. We do want to warn you, some of the details of this story are very disturbing.
Just a few days ago, Oakland County Sheriff deputies came to this house behind me to do a welfare check on a woman. But when they got inside, they didn't find her, but they did discover her 3 kids who had been abandoned, living in deplorable conditions.
Everybody's upset about it. Like,
think about that. 2020 or 2021, right? Which I'm not sure why they don't know it's 2021 and not 2020. Because if they... All right, so let me backtrack. If they haven't been to school since she abandoned them, I would assume it had to be 2021. Because even in 2020, they try to do it virtually online. So maybe she abandoned them right before the school semester of 2020 started. And so they really had no record of it, of them even being in a virtual class. Or after the virtual class, when they were going right to 2021, that's when she booked. I personally would say 2021, right? Because you can simply ask the kids some questions that would tell you if it happened during the pandemic. Shoot, and remember they said it was a wellness check on the mother. So nobody in 4 years, which is still a lot of people on social media just I saw this on an Instagram post about this. We just can't wrap our minds around the fact that nobody asked about her kids for 4 years. How isolated is she to where she can just do like you have, like, think about yourself, whether you got kids or not. I don't have kids. I know if I had a kid, if I had one, don't matter, 1, 10, if I had kids, and I went 4 months and nobody's seen them. Like, do you know the type of shit I would have to do for people to not give a fuck about the kids? To want to speak to them? Like, not even a phone call? Nothing? That either somebody else knew and didn't give a fuck, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking neighbors and family members knew, just didn't give a fuck. They said whatever. When they found him, they found him. I don't care. Because again, no contact at all. It's hard for me to believe that nobody else knew.
Oh my God, this is right in our neighborhood. How could something like this?
It's 4 feet in some rooms. There was even mold a few streets over from the home where the kids were found. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office says the house was covered in piles of trash as high as 4 feet in some rooms. There was even mold and human feces throughout the house.
Now, this is also something that really, people were fighting me on it in Instagram, like slightly, a couple back and forths. But, so if they were, let's go with 4 years. They've been abandoned for 4 years. That means 11, 9, and 8. You mean to tell me at 11, 9, and 8, they didn't know to take the fucking trash out? Like, dude, like at 9 years old, 8, 9 years old, I'm going with the youngest age, 8 years old, I had a concept of cleaning. So that tells me this lady had to be really just like allowing these kids to exist. But they said they went to school at some point. At some point. How is that possible? How are you integrated at some point, even at 8 years old, into society? And then, and a boy was 11, and then you don't know to like take the trash out? Like, it's a condo. That means it's at least one big ass dumpster in the back. But that line, I would assume it's like 2. None of you took it out? Nobody? And one of the posts, I'm not sure if it's this video, but they said one of the girls was sleeping on old pizza boxes. Which, another thing, I'll go ahead and just talk about that since I brought it up. But you, instead of like throwing the pizza boxes away, you kept them somewhere in the room. I'm having a hard time understanding how the mother kept them this stupid up to ages 8, 9, and 11. That seems really odd to me. But that weekly drop off, I don't believe that. I don't believe it. That means you went 4 years, which is 208 weeks. Faithfully, like clockwork, you dropped off an adequate amount of food for 7 days for 3 kids who are growing at a rate I'm sure you don't know because you don't fucking care. I don't believe that. And again, it's pizza boxes and some other shit. That means when they said prepared food, it's fast food. I don't know why they do that. I don't know if they're trying to save face for this lady, but that's what it was. She dropped off fast food once a week. I'm willing to bet it wasn't once a week. I'm pretty sure what she did was, okay, I took 2 pieces over there. It's 3 of them. 2 pieces should last them about 4 or 5 days. Like, I'm pretty sure that to me, that's what it had to be. Now, another post I seen was she sat it on the porch. Yo, we'll come back to that, but that's wow. But again, yeah, the trash piled up and the kids never went outside, ever. Look, I don't, at 11 years old, I'm going with the boy because I'm a boy. I don't. There's no level of abandonment you can say where I just won't go outside and try to go hoop. Like, I'd have been kidnapped before I've been in a house for 4 years on pizza boxes. Straight up, like there's no, like, what are you gonna threaten me with if you only come by once a week? I'm getting my gym shoes on. Somebody's gonna see me with these busted ass shoes that I done poked the front out of with my toes hanging out, trying to go hoop. Like, I don't know what, again, she had to keep these kids super fucking stupid for this to even go on this long. What? Something else had to be going on. Something else. It is this. It's 3 kids didn't go outside for 4 years. They didn't say it, so it can't be the case. But was the door locked from the? Did you need a key to get out the side of the door or something? Because that didn't make. Was she set the food on? So you really just drug the food in from the porch, and then that was it. That was y'all outside. You didn't go. You didn't go outside on a summer day to eat the food on the porch. Never. Okay. All right. Let's. Okay.
It's pretty heartbreaking that the kids would have to live under those conditions.
Sheriff Michael Bouchard tells me a 15-year-old boy and his 2 sisters, ages 12 and 13.
I don't like that they keep doing that. Several different sources have said it that way. A 15-year-old boy and his 2 sisters. I'm not sure if I'm reading too much into it, but it's almost like they're trying to say like he was like the leader or something. Why do you keep saying him and his 2 sisters? Because he's the oldest? It started at 11. Or maybe even 10, and it was what you're trying to say. Why do they keep wording it like that?
Hadn't been outside the home in years and were surviving off of weekly drop-offs of prepared food.
It kind of reminds me of the, commercials you see where animals are living in very deplorable conditions. Well, kind of take that times 10, and that's what the kids were living in for years.
The boy told deputies that his mother abandoned them back in either 2020 or 2021. Deputies were recently called because the landlord of the home...
How did the boy keep track of it if he... Listen, I refuse... Excuse me. The idea that you're going to take this information from this boy, but yet, how does he... Okay, he said 2020 or 2021, but he was also... You could also manipulate him enough to not come outside. It's just not... It's not adding up to me. He was coherent enough to relay this information, but he never once ever went and knocked on somebody else's door, ever. It's all right. Okay. And nobody saw in these condos this lady just throwing food on her own porch. Ever. Okay, sure. He never got into a fight with his sisters. Ever. About which pizza blocks they were going to play with. He never. No screaming, no wrestling, no fighting, nothing. Nothing. Nobody broke a bone, developed a scar, nothing. Wow. This is not to be funny. This is kind of remarkable. That this was able to go on for 4 or 5 years and just nothing happened. Only because she didn't pay the rent. All right. So you mean to tell me that had she just simply decided to just go pick him up one day, none the wiser? Nobody would have. Okay. All right.
Asked for them to do a welfare check.
The landlord said he hadn't seen her for some time, and I think, as our detectives mentioned, that hadn't paid her rent going back to October.
The kid's mother was arrested on Friday, and Bouchard says she had been living somewhere else in Pontiac. The kids hadn't been in school since they were abandoned.
Well, that's going to be a very long process to figure this all out. Not just how they are, both mentally and physically, but how did this ever happen? To have these kids fall through the cracks on so many levels with relatives, the community, and with schools.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
I've seen, child neglect and other situations where they're living in bad places, but not to this level and not for this extended duration.
The mother will be facing criminal charges, and in the meantime, her kids are now staying with a relative in Pontiac.
What relative is... Listen, I want more than just that one funky ass picture. I want to see this entire house, where the kids slept, how this arrangement of food thing worked. I want to know more than just what the hell they're telling us, because this is a whole fucked up story that I don't like being left in the dark about it. There's some things that people are just not saying. If you want to say it's out of the safetyness of the kids, fine. What I think you're lying, but fine, whatever. But here's one thing that really fucked with me. This lady, for years, thought of her kids. Went somewhere, picked up some bullshit fast food, drove it to that house. And I'm sure in some cases she didn't even close the car door. She just got out on the porch, got back in the car, and left. Which means there are times where the kids saw this. What the fuck did she? She mind fucked the shit out of these kids before she left. Because there's no, like, you gotta think about it. Make yourself either one of the three ages, don't matter, 8, 9, or 11. And think to yourself, what could your mother possibly do to you or say to you that would make you go through 4 years or 5 of mom bring food, mom leave, and I don't tell anyone? Mom bring food, mom leave, or hey, there's food on the porch, it must be for mom. What the fuck could she possibly tell you at 10 or 11 years old that will make you go through 4 years of that? Because at each age, 8, 9, and 11, again, or 10, because we don't really know. Well, okay, so but the 12-year-old would have been 7. So you really got to go from ages all the way from 7 to 11. Now, 7 is where it starts to push. Like, okay, what would I do? But then again, like, you don't hear shit that's joyful outside and want to go. At 7, I did. At 7, I would get up myself and go outside. I'm trying to think, what the fuck could she say to me that would make me literally stay in the house for 4 years at ages from 7 to 11, where I wouldn't just say, fuck this, I'm going for a walk. I remember what a park is. I'm going to the park. Like, I know what the police station is. I'm going there because mom hasn't been here in a while. Seriously, like, what the fuck? I can't put myself in those shoes because it just doesn't make sense to me. I can't grasp I can't stand there and put myself in a position to where my mom says something to me and it hurt me so bad that I literally just stayed a fucking puppet slave or whatever the fuck in the house for 4 or 5 years. Even now that I'm like old, fat, and lazy, I still like I can do like a few hours of like, all right, YouTube was nice. Either I'm going to bed or I'm about to get up and go to Anytime Fitness or some shit. Like, I don't get it. She had to start really, really, really young with all 3 of these kids. I'm going to go see if I can find maybe a different clip or something, and I can hopefully get. They're all reporting the same thing. Maybe I can get something, so we'll see. Still on the other side of this. So I found this clip that Fox uploaded 4 hours ago. So I haven't seen it yet. It's 20 minutes long. I don't think I have the patience to go through another 20 minutes of this shit and ranting at the same time. So I'll do as much as I can, and yeah, we'll go from there.
We learned the details of this case.
Agreement was arrived at in 2022, but the mother still would not allow him to see the kids. So that's what we've learned so far, at least preliminarily. We're going to go back and double check all these timelines.
Okay, so I know it's really soon, but is he talking about the dad? Because she said let him see the kids usually means the dad. So, okay, ma'am, you literally, if that's the case, you literally could have just cleaned their ass up real quick, covered your steps, and said, "I'm just dropping them off to you. You got 'em. Fuck it." Like, I hope, man.
And that kind of information. So he, in essence, had lost contact with the kids. And that's where that stood. So we've had questions about that. The other questions that we've had was, who were the other people potentially dropping food at the house other than the mother? So far, again, the investigation is pretty layered and complex, given that it was going over years. But it appears that those are companies like an Instacart or a DoorDash, things like that. So, so far, none of the people that were coming to the house had any awareness that there were kids inside or the situation in which they were delivering to. Obviously, the question was somebody dropping food off knowing there's kids there? No information at this point leads us to believe that.
Damn, dude. So she wasn't even doing it. She wasn't even doing it. She was literally paying other people. Like, you don't even stop. Damn. Do you know how much growing you can do from 10 to 15? Like, I had to grow a whole foot from 10 to 15. Was she Instacarting clothes too? This is beyond just a fucked up ordeal. And again, at least somebody, maybe not the dad, we'll find out, but somebody was trying to see him. You could have literally just said, if you want to see him, you gotta fucking take him.
The kids were forensically interviewed, with our partners at Care House. They've already been seen once at McLaren. We intend to have them at a much more detailed, both physical and mental health kind of checkup, if you will, that will happen hopefully this week. When our detectives saw them at their interview at Care House, they were already making amazing progress, having had some tender love, having had some supportive care, having been put in new clothing and some basic hygiene. The one detective said that the little girl was talking quite a bit. So that's super exciting to see that happening. And as it relates to being in the house, the only one of the three that ever came out was the young boy, and he came out twice. Once because he wanted to feel the grass, which by itself is heartbreaking, and a second time to check the mail. So you wouldn't do this to it.
What? So again, the fucking neighbors. Nobody saw this twice. Nobody. Did he just run real quick at night? There had to be. It had to be. It had to be at night, really cold, so nobody else was outside. Because otherwise, you don't see, unless he was like one of those little short kids, unless he's like 5'4" or something, he doesn't grow much. Which they say in situations like this, you don't. So now, okay, fine. It's possible that nobody saw it. It's possible, but still. Like, again, it's an attached house. Nobody hears anything. Whatever, dude.
Animal, let alone your child. So, just to hear that he came out to touch the grass is just crushing, soul crushing on so many levels. As it relates to the house, we have obviously released pictures I'll get my technical expert up. You've already seen some of these pictures. I rolled that little mouse, but it didn't want to cooperate. So inside of the home, as I had mentioned with these pictures, trash was piled, in some places.
Okay, look, I'm not trying to, and I think people on Instagram had me a little misunderstood. I'm only asking these questions because I'm trying to figure out how I would react as a child in this situation. I'm not trying to fuck with the kids or blame the kids for shit. All right, that's not what I'm doing. But when I look at this, I have to ask myself, I'm not sure if people could abandon me at 10 years old, because the boy would have been the youngest, he would have been 10 or 11. If you could abandon me at 10 years old, and I wouldn't find this disturbing. So that's when I think I was trying to be funny on Instagram. That he had to be slow, or again, as I said before, the mother had to be mind fucking the kids before she left, so she could successfully not be there. Like that, because again, look at that toilet. That is shit running down the toilet. And then you just kept pushing shit further and further into the bathroom. I remember very powerfully now at 9 years old where I stayed, how I used to clean up. Not even just my room either. The living room too. I didn't just it actually kind of bothers me. I think I was cleaner at 9. Anyway, I don't know how it got this bad, even with no adult around. Because you weren't left at babies. So I'm trying to figure, what state of mind could you be in to live like that from the age of 10? No organization whatsoever. Again, even as a child in this situation, the garbage man shows up. He shows up regardless. Why was no garbage being taken outside? What the fuck you check the mail for? That was a little off. You wouldn't check the mail. Who told you to check the mail? That means in 2 situations in 4 or 5 years, he got curious enough to go outside. But he wasn't together enough mentally to take the trash out. Something is they need to go find some of the people. They need to contact Instacart and bring up this address and find out all the people that delivered over the years and ask them what they saw. So we can get, somebody had to see a face in a window or something.
3 and 4 foot high. Everything was covered with feces and trash. The toilet had become non-functional, and the bathtub was filled with feces. That's the kind of situation these poor kids had been living in for years, not just hours or days, for years. And so when you have the complete lack of hygiene, a complete breakdown of basic living conditions that they were subjected to, and to get a little deeper into that.
That's the tub. Why did they start shitting in the tub? That doesn't make that. I have to, did the mother not pay the water bill now is what I want to know. Because I refuse to believe that the water was on and it still turned out like this. Because I'm too straight up. If I resort to shitting in the tub, all jokes aside, I'm going to step on it so it go down the drain. Real talk. I'm not literally going to allow just the tub to have shit in it. at 10 and 11 years old. I'm going to step on it so it smashes up and goes down the drain. Like, I would just do that. So I did she cut the water off? That has to be, that had to happen. Something like that had to happen.
Detectives have narrowed down the initial abandonment they believe to be somewhere in the spring to summer of 2020. Obviously, COVID played a little part in the disconnect potentially with schools and school communications.
Like I thought.
In 2020, the mother dropped off some trash bags, gloves, and Febreze, and that was about the last thing related to hygiene. 2020, in the height of COVID. Okay.
Is that what the boy said? Or did the mother? Because the mother's in custody, so did they interview her? They interview her and she said that? I wish I had made that clear so we can know how he know the details of that. That to me, that sounds like something a mother would say. Because I don't think the boy would, again, I don't think he would be detailed enough to explain that.
Towards the end, the children apparently were getting a loaf of bread dropped off that was intended to last 3 to 4 days. So,
like I thought, this was not that they made it sound like it was just around like a clock, like it was clockwork. Like every Sunday she made sure it was a week's worth of a weekly. Come on, man. Like I thought, she dropped off some shit and said, "Here, for a few days, it should work."
Obviously, on so many levels, the conditions are horrendous and the situation terrible. So what we're trying to do in the meantime, and as it relates specifically to the...
Hey, yo, I'm going to go on this rant now. Hey, look, I no longer ever want to hear y'all call a deadbeat dad shit. I don't want to hear it no more. Because look, listen to me. At least when a dad is a deadbeat dad, he like leaves. Like he's gone. Like it is left with some person. Some person. Y'all asses ladies be like you're going to sleep with me in a fucking ice cold frozen car. I'm going to just leave you there and just send some bullshit over. One chick that lived in Houston a couple years ago, her boyfriend beat one of the kids to death, literally to death, and then she just left the other two there. And did the same shit. But just drop Burger King off every so often. I don't want to hear Debbie that shit though. At least we just fucking leave. This shit is like, I don't know. You can't tell me this is better than if your parent just left you with a fucking adult. You can't tell me. But this is me, the battle of degeneracy. So never mind.
Case, the preliminary report has been turned over to the prosecutor. We're adding some more stuff for them. They're in the process of determination. When I heard about this, I called her on the weekend and let it know it was coming, and she has her staff queued up, and they're in that process. As it relates to the kids, the first thing we wanted to do is obviously get them safe and to get them clean and get them enclosed. And I will say we have one of the most generous communities, I think, in the world. We put on there that we needed clothing, and this is just a tiny sample of what we've received. At the office of another office of ours, we have bags and bags. So we don't need any more clothing. We greatly appreciate it.
Now, they said that the kids wouldn't stay with a relative. Do you know how much? Let's put yourself in a position of that relative. Do you know how much attention you're going to have to give these kids for a while? Like, you're not going to be able to just hey, and have a quick conversation or whatever. You're going to have to give them attention for a while. Even if they don't actively want it. because otherwise their mind is going to like go, well, where the fuck ever. Man, hide the paper boy. That's gonna bring fucking memories.
And the kids greatly appreciate it. And so we're kind of pivoting now to financial support. And we have put up a link, if you will, to the charity Mission Oakland. And 100% of it will go to the kids. Unlike some of the traditional fundraising methodologies you see out there, they take a percentage. 100% of this will go to the kids. What I am asking is, again, our generous viewers and listeners out there and readers, we're looking for a law firm that would set up a trust fund so that we can take 100% of what we receive in donations for these kids and put it in a trust that can be administered, that can take care of maybe their medical bills, mental health visits, and if there's any overage, maybe.
I was thinking for a minute until he said this. He made it very clear. You niggas is not getting no money. only the trust can only be cashed to specific things for these kids. He makes sure y'all adult asses who didn't do shit this whole 4 years didn't get a dime. That's crazy.
Set some money aside for their future education. This is going to be a long-term situation, and so we'd like to be able to kind of hand the baton to a trust fund that will manage it in a way that makes sure it's just the kids. Not suggesting anybody else would do anything with it, but we're looking for a mechanism.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are definitely saying you don't trust the people to take the kids. You definitely are.
Where we can hand this off. So if there's a firm out there that would like to set up a trust fund for these kids, then we'll deposit any receipts that we have in a very short period of time. I think we've already got $15,000 to $20,000 in on our donations. So we're going to, obviously have some real dollars to be able to give these kids, but that won't make up for the 3-4 years that they've been subjected to these conditions. I've said this more than once, but you see those videos of animals in just terrible conditions on commercials, and it pulls at your heartstrings. Imagine maybe by 10 living in what we showed you, and then play it out over years, not days or weeks. So it's hard to wrap your head around this one. So there's going to be a lot of long-term, I think, mental health and educational needs and things that we want to try to help with the family to get to that point.
So there's a comment over here in the comment section, and I didn't even think about this, which it's kind of blatant too. They said, imagine the many days, holidays, Christmases that they sat in filth, not knowing proper care or love, beyond heartbreaking. Again, we're in Michigan, yo. They were found, I believe they said last Thursday. We had several days that were below zero in Michigan this winter before Thursday. So, I mean, I guess obviously there had to be heat on, otherwise they would have died. But yeah, like that's what one thing that people keep saying is, for nobody asked on Thanksgiving, nobody asked on Christmas, nobody asked on the New Year's, nobody asked on the 4th of July. For 5 years, nobody asked. That's crazy. That literally I believe on one post they said they watched TV. I don't believe she paid a cable bill. So what the fuck were they watching every day?
The other thing I'd like to mention, the family is asking, apparently, some of the folks that are now involved with the kids that didn't know, that's another question we've asked, they didn't know what was going on with the kids. They had been told by her that somebody else was babysitting the children or other kinds of things. So they were unaware what was happening.
She was able to lie to y'all for 4.5 years. Man, stop. She was not able to lie to you for 4. You didn't care. Just say that. You didn't care. There's no way she can lie to you for 4.5 years. Of the family members I know, and I was around my age or younger, you cannot lie to me for 4. And I'm thinking ones that are like obviously decently close. So I'm not thinking of like a relative that's out in like Oregon or some shit, but like a family member that's close. Unless you want me to believe she has no close family members, I don't believe it. And then like the father's side, that somebody, I don't know if he was in jail or what, but even if the father wasn't like alive or out of jail, nobody, the grandma on that side didn't want to see him, the granddad on that side, nobody on any of these holidays said, well, damn, where are the kids? Nobody. So they could have literally just been dead. Nobody would give a fuck.
So far, according to our investigation. But what they're asking is they feel like they're being hounded by media outlets. So they'd like to get some privacy for their kids and the grandkids and the aunts, and those folks want just a little bit of a safe bubble, if you would. So they asked that, which of course we're going to do. Now, on another front, all of us are asking, how the heck did this happen? How did we lose 3 kids? How'd they fall through the system? The community, the relatives, the schools, how did no one know? And the easiest answer we could come up with, and I put on my old legislative hat, and thank heavens we've got a person on our staff that also had worked in the legislature, and we examined the school code. And there's some gaps that we think in part allowed this to happen. And so what we're going to suggest is there needs to be some changes in state law. Right now, basically, there is no specific duty required that is triggered by certain actions. So what I mean by that is a school district, in this case, received a request for records from another school in Pontiac, but no verification the children ever moved to that school. And so at some point, when they didn't show up, they were just dropped off the enrollment of the school that sent the transcripts. So no one knew that they were nowhere. And so what we're proposing, and we're already communicating to a potential bill sponsor, is some amendments to the school code that will close that communication gap so that before a child is unenrolled, they have to obtain written confirmation that child's someplace else. That doesn't happen now. And that's what happened here, it appears. It's still, again, being investigated because we're going back years and trying to check records. But it looks like, based on that request for records, neither of them knew where that child was and presumed, I guess, that the other one had the children. So the other thing, this is the specific language, but it goes into basically filling that gap, closing that hole, so that if a child doesn't show up at a school for a period of time, then it triggers a follow-up where they have to communicate with either a truancy officer or law enforcement to begin an examination of what happened to these kids. Where are they? It's unbelievable to think that we've got 3 kids that fell off everybody's map for years.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not. I'm not buying that literally nobody knew. I just don't believe it. I just can't. Like some dumbass in the comments said, not everybody has grandparents and aunts and uncles. Shut up. Because who has them now? Listen, I'm not sure if it's 10 minutes left. And right now he's going over some shit that I don't really care about. It's just really difficult to understand. Really difficult. I just keep coming back to the point of the thought of these kids had to be mentally beat down for them to go through this. And the only thing they ever did was go outside, literally, to touch the grass. I it's and it sounds like they had no communication device, like no phone, no tablet. Like she just had some ratty ass TV in there, and they watched that every day. Again, I don't know how you never go further than a fucking mailbox. Again, why were you checking for the mail, dude? At his age, you don't get shit. It just doesn't make sense. None of the story makes sense. I don't believe it was just Instacart. I don't. I don't. There's. So remember when she dropped off the garbage bags, the gloves, and the Febreze. That sounds like something she would go in the house and drop off. That needs to be confirmed. How many times when she would take the food herself, how many times did she take did she actually take it herself? And how many times did she set foot in the house since that garbage bag time? That's what I don't know. I'm going to skip forward a couple minutes to see if there's something else that I want to hear and go from there.
Questions?
What did mom say or do to make her children so scared of leaving the house for years?
They were just scared. I don't know that she said anything particular that she's admitted to us, but they were afraid to leave. I know that much.
Nah, no, it's not. But she had was it voodoo? Did she say if you left out the house, she'd kill them? She shoot their brains out? What? Like, at some point, you gotta know. You don't see another human outside. Did she black the windows out? Like, come on, yo. That answer doesn't make sense to me. They were just scared. No, they weren't. It had to be something else. It's not you're just scared.
What's the latest with mom? I know the prosecutor's looking at this, but where is she? What's going on?
In custody with us.
Is she cooperating?
Yeah, I mean, she's talking to us, but we've got some follow-up secondary things that we want to ask her based on more information that's come to our attention since this originally, surprisingly, came to our attention when we were thinking we were going to check on her welfare and found 3 kids.
Any idea on the state of her mental health?
I have no information or background that she's got any mental health challenges, but obviously that will be all part of the case.
Is she a message for everyone who's stepped up to make donations, whether that's been financial or all these supplies that have come in?
My heartfelt warm thank you to everybody that has stepped up. I mean, as I said, in very short order, we got a ton of clothing, so much we had to say, okay, we got enough of that. Let's pivot to other ways we can help, and people have jumped in on that. I honestly think we have one of the most generous communities in the world, and I've seen it time and time again. I was...
So here's the common thing that I didn't think of because I haven't myself been close to it in a while. But this comment says, my guess on mom, she was getting some sort of welfare benefits, food stamps, disability checks, etc. And if she gave the kids up, she knew that all of that government assistance would be gone, and she most likely have to pay child support. I want to know more about where mom was at with who, the poor children, so on and so forth. So, yeah, that actually reminds me. There is something back when I was in school, middle school, high school, there was a known thing, even as kids, that we knew happened because they would like joke about it on Comic View and all this stuff. But there's a thing where if you can convince your kid to go into an interview and be slow, they will get put in a special ed and you get a check. I'm not sure if that still happens today, but I know it happened at one point. So, is that what she did with these 3 kids? Did she make sure that they were as dumb as possible? And then when time came, like, when this all started, did she just become overwhelmed with the situation she's kind of really put herself in with 3 slow kids, and went and just found another place to stay and say, fuck it, I'll just stay here and I'll just send some shit. I'll find a new spot, I'll send you some shit. And and I hate to do this, but this really has to be an example for why people say people need to get married before they have kids and then like stay together. Because I'm almost certain that she ran into a dude. Again, I understand I could be wrong, but this seems to follow suit all the time. She ran into some dude and she knew, I can't take these kids over there because either he just won't have it and I'll be out of a relationship, or he's probably gonna whoop their ass. Because I've seen a situation where it's very obvious she really don't like the dude, but he's there. He beats the kid's ass, beats her ass. So it's like, that's the very likely thing that happened.
I mean, this goes back more than 20 years when I went to Ground Zero after 9/11, and so many police and fire families were decimated. And at that time, there was no mechanism. They immediately had their livelihood cut off, and these families had no income whatsoever. And so I started raising money in this area for the New York firefighters and police officers, and we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in very short order and gave it to those families before they got any assistance from anyone else. That's this community. That's the heart and soul of this community. So, I just say thank you.
What about the landlord? Usually when you're renting, the landlord or somebody will come in and do a maintenance check. What are they saying?
Well, the landlord's the one that actually called in a welfare check. He said he hadn't heard from who he thought was the tenant for a period of time, and she hadn't paid her rent since October. So, I mean, typically,
where the hell does that landlord live? Because I thought about that earlier in the last video, but it just kind of slipped my mind. You didn't come knock on the door yourself? Where the fuck does he live, or she? If I own a place and the tenant is not answering my phone, my message, whatever, and I ain't got no rent, I'm going to go knock on the door. And it's very odd that she, I guess, did she just stop caring at some point? Because if you don't pay the rent, you got to know that at some point they're going to kick your kids out and they're going to find all this out. So did she just stop caring and say, fuck it?
Whew. A landlord would respond if there's complaints about something not working. But he was unaware of any of this. He actually sent us there to check on what he thought was his tenant. And that's when we found the kids.
And what's going to happen to that apartment or that townhouse right now? I mean, is it dangerous for the people that are, next door? It's a kind of compact area.
Yeah, that will probably be up to the health department and other folks that will have to make a determination of how they move that forward. I mean, when we processed that scene for evidentiary value, our folks were wearing hazmat suits. I mean, on every level, it's a biohazard.
How about any debriefing for the officers who found that? Do they go through any kind of debriefing? That's got to be kind of hard for them.
It's horrific. I mean, again, I've been in this business a long time. The worst thing for our folks, our men and women on the front lines, is when they have an issue with kids. Because most of them, bring that home in a way that connect. They look at their kid and they see the other kid in this situation and they just begin to, personalize it, and it tears them up. So thankfully we've got a great peer-to-peer program, and that was initiated immediately once we learned what the situation was, to both debrief them and make sure that they have some opportunity to process what they were involved in and how to, in a healthy way, move forward. After you see some of the terrible things we see in our world, homicides and abuse, you'll never unsee it, but you have to find a healthy way to process it. Maybe we can get some insight what she was thinking, but it will never satisfy. Not at this point. They're going to again try to ask suicides. They've been to, one thing after another, and I think they make an amazing difference.
Do you have any information at all as to why this mom would do this for years to her children?
Not at this point. They're going to again try to ask her some more questions. That's all part of the investigation. How or why? I don't think there's never going to be an answer any of us can understand or accept on the why. How do you? Anybody that's a parent looks at their kids and thinks, what a blessing, what a gift.
Clearly
and
not.
to allow this to happen, I don't think anyone, whether you have kids or not, will ever wrap your head around. But, maybe we can get some insight what she was thinking, but it will never satisfy any of us.
Yeah, I'm going to just stop it right there. This is, oh, damn it. My bad. I know it's going to fuck with the orientation. But, yeah, I don't know. I can't, like Dude said, you really can't really put your mind around, wrap your mind around it, understand. Was it welfare purposes? Was it boyfriend purposes? Who the fuck knows? It was just a really odd thing. The kids not ever, except for 2 times going outside. It's just, none of it is really something you can grasp the understanding of. It's I don't get it. And remember, that's a townhouse. So does it have an upstairs? I don't know. I just know damn well I'm not going to sit there for 5 years. I just know that. Even if you was to leave me at the youngest age of 7, which one would be 7, I'm not going to literally never leave the house. I just don't understand that. What the fuck did she do? Did she say to them to get them to never leave the house? Be right, not positive. I'm out.